Hello, welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting from the Sarah Vaughan Concert Hall here at Newark Symphony Hall here in downtown Newark, New Jersey. Tonight, you're going to be seeing highlights of a very, very important jazz event, which is paying tribute to Newark's finest and its very own Miss Sarah Vaughan. In a career spanning some 5 decades, this lady gave us some very monumental songs ranging from Misty to Tenderly to Broken Hearted Melody, just to name the endless few. What better way to commemorate the legacy of Miss Vaughan is the United States Postal Service is issuing the first day of issue ceremony commemorating Miss Sarah Vaughan. Tonight here on the Pace Report, you're going to be seeing highlights of the ceremony and going to hear remarks and comments from Mayor Rosy of Newark, as well as the legendary Melba Moore, as well as Diane Reeves. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the first day of issue ceremony, reporting live as part of the Pace Report coverage here at the Sarah Vaughan Concert Hall at Newark Symphony Hall here in downtown Newark.
What I always hear when you sigh. Never in my wordland could there be ways to reveal in a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves bill and coo when they love? That's the kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I'd cry on my pillow if you should tell me farewell and goodbye. Lullaby a birdland whisper low, kiss me sweet and we'll go.
Celebrate one of the golden voices of her time. We celebrate Miss Sarah Vaughan. Let's give another grand round of applause for the New Jersey Performing Arts Center Youth Jazz Ensemble. You know, they played one of Sister Sassy's classics, If You Could See Me Now. Of course, I hope all of you are smiling because I know Sarah today knows that America and the United States Postal Service are smiling down on her today. I'm Al Bundy, and yes, my name is really Al Bundy. I'm the Vice President of the Newark Performing Arts Center, better known as Symphony Hall. And for just a little, I want you to forget about your troubles. We've had enough bad news. For a little while, we're just going to celebrate some good news. So on behalf of our talented Board of Trustees, on behalf of the superstar staff that works here at Newark Symphony Hall, I just want you to be welcomed. I just want you to know that you're in a special place, named in honor of the divine one herself. You're in the Sarah Vaughan Concert Hall. So be welcome. Performed on this very stage on many of an occasion. So for a little while, be welcome. Sit back, relax, and just be at home with us for this commemorative celebration.
But we're proud and we're privileged to welcome this historic event honoring Sarah Vaughan to the Performing Arts Center that she held in such high regard. And we're equally proud and privileged to welcome all of you here today, especially members of Sarah Vaughan's family. The Newark Performing Arts Corporation is entrusted with the stewardship of Newark Symphony Hall, and perhaps more importantly, its cultural legacy. And we'd like to take just a moment today to thank Mayor Ross Baraka, and the Newark Municipal Council under President Mildred Crump for their unwavering support for that mission. We'd also like to thank our benefactors who help us stay open and active all year long. The Prudential Foundation, the Victoria Foundation, the Terrell Fund, Investors Bank, the Newark Celebrates 350 Committee, and many others who make it possible for us to host the Performing Arts Academy here year-round, the Arts on Stage program, our gospel series, and many other Newark Performing Arts Corporation presentations that occur here at Newark Symphony Hall.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets
This is the day that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be mighty glad in it. Let us pray. Gracious Lord, mighty God, Father, Mother, Creator of heaven and earth, we come to you this day, bowing down before you to honor and adore you. We thank you for making this day possible before the foundation of the world. We thank you for touching your creation, Sarah Vaughan, blessing her with the talents that you've given her, enabling her to walk the streets of Newark and then transcend throughout the entire world. We thank you and we honor her memory. We honor her work. We honor her legacy. But we can't honor her and not honor you, who made her possible. So we thank you, God, for creating her. We thank you for using her. We thank you for pouring your gifts in her. And for those of us that are here who desire to remember her, bless us in our memories of her, and those that will be utilizing her songs, her spirit, her hope, a woman who never denied that she came from Newark. And anyone who asks, can any good thing come from Newark? Were we able to say resoundingly, yes. Yes, Lord. Yes to your will and yes to your ways. And yes, Lord, for blessing your creation, Sarah Vaughan, this and every day. And as we're honoring her, those of us who do, we will honor the God that she acknowledged. And we close this prayer in the mighty, matchless, wonderful, awesome, anointed, marvelous name of Jesus. Amen.
It is an outstanding day indeed to pay tribute to Sarah Vaughan, the daughter of our wonderful city, and to see her face on the U.S. postage stamp forever and ever, marking her in the history of this country. And as a representative of our great city, I would like to present a proclamation on her behalf. I'll just read the last three parts of it. It says, whereas Sarah Vaughan lived at 21 Avon Avenue in Newark until moving to Inglewood and continued to sing and perform around the world for decades with Sending the Clowns as her signature song. She died on April 3rd, 1990. Her funeral was held at Mount Zion Baptist Church, and she was buried in Glendale Cemetery. Whereas Sarah Vaughan was one of the most titanic performing artists in American history, described by the New York Times as a singer who brought an operatic splendor to her performances of popular standards in jazz, and a member of the Grammy Hall of Fame and New Jersey Hall of Fame. More importantly, she was one of Newark's greatest native daughters, an inspiration to an entire city, a symbol of our excellence. And whereas, as mayor of Newark, I salute Sarah Vaughan as the United States Postal Service recognizes her life, career, and legacy by unveiling a commemorative postage stamp at Newark Symphony Hall today, as part of the events honoring the 350th anniversary of our incredible city. Now, therefore, I, Raz Baraka, Mayor of the City of Newark, hereby recognize Sarah Vaughan, and I urge all residents, employees, and visitors of the City of Newark to join me in this special tribute to Sarah Vaughan, Sassy, the Divine One.
I would like to remind you that you can tweet about today's ceremony using the hashtag @musicicons, one word, or @Sarah Vaughan Forever, one word. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, now the dedication of the stamp. And to do the honors, we have the United States Postal Service Deputy Postmaster General, Mr. Ronald Stroman. He is the second highest ranking postal executive. And before becoming Deputy Postmaster General, Mr. Stroman had more than 30 years of professional experience in government, legislative affairs, and leadership, including leadership positions at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the General Accounting Office, and the Judiciary House and Oversight Committee and Government Reform Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives. To dedicate the Forever Stamp honoring the incomparable Sarah Vaughan, please welcome to the stage a proud graduate of Rutgers School of Law in Newark, United States Deputy Postmaster General and Chief Government Relations Officer, Ronald Stroman.
It is a pleasure to be back here in Newark. I remember the first time I saw Sarah Vaughan sing. It was in the summer of 1972, and don't do the math. I was a sophomore in college. The Newport Jazz Festival had just moved to New York City for the first time, and somehow I got tickets to see Sarah perform at an evening performance at Philharmonic Hall. She walked out onto the stage in an exquisite gown and began to sing Poor Butterfly. I was stunned by the power and beauty of her voice. She unfurled each note, and I became caught up in that web of beauty that Rhonda talked about. It was a voice and is a voice for the ages. So it's a privilege for me to be here with you and the love of her life, her daughter Paris, and their family, unveiling Sarah Vaughan's stamp, and like many of you, I feel a personal connection to Sarah and her music. And there is no more appropriate place to unveil this stamp than here in Newark, where Ms. Vaughan was born, yes, here in Newark. Where Ms. Vaughan was born on March 27, 1924, and which played such a vital role in her musical and personal development. Her parents, Ada and Jake Vaughan, raised her with love and devotion in this community. And it was on 186 Thomas Street, the early home of her beloved First Mount Zion Baptist Church, that young Sarah first honed her piano and organ skills at Saturday choir rehearsals and for Sunday church services, and later as a soloist in the choir. First Mount Zion laid the musical foundation that Ms. Vaughan would build on so remarkably throughout her illustrious career. And Newark also had a thriving jazz scene during Sarah's teenage years. In the early 40s, Newark was filled with talented young people. It had over 60 clubs and theaters. You could hear great jazz at Laurel Garden, the Nest Club, Piccadilly, the Key Club, Sparky J's, the Proctor's Theater, the Adams Theater, and even here at Symphony Hall. Sarah was able to hear great music and hang out with some of the greatest musicians of that era. One of those musicians, the pianist Clem Moorman, is the stepfather of Melba Moore. And Ms. Moore will introduce Mr. Moorman a little bit later in this program. We are honored to have him with us. Mr. Moorman is still playing and celebrating his 100th birthday. was also instrumental in preparing Ms. Vaughan for the arduous life of a black woman jazz vocalist in the 40s and 50s. Life on the road was punishing, traveling night after night in a series of one-night stands, beginning in her early 20s with the Earl Father Hines Band, which included the young jazz revolutionaries, Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. Then on the road with her musical soulmate, Billy Eckstine, and eventually venturing out on her own. There was a certain mental and physical toughness that was required to keep going in those days. Being paid very little money, men trying to exploit you, an uncertain future, and other obstacles that had to be confronted. One of those obstacles was the pernicious racism she faced traveling, especially in the segregated South. Sarah had to endure whites-only signs, segregated restaurants, hotels, trains, buses, and clubs, not being treated with the respect and common decency that she deserved. In her early years, she also had to struggle against a corporate music system that exploited black jazz artists, paying them lower concert fees, fewer royalty payments than their white counterparts, and overcharging them for basic music services. Ms. Vaughan had the talent and the tenacity to persevere through it all and to fight back against this system designed to rob the artists of their wealth. Now, we have heard this morning a number of moving and expert descriptions of Ms. Vaughan's vocal genius. I will add just one from pianist Carl Schroeder. She had a gift that most singers didn't have. She knew when to improvise and when not to. She could walk the line between the melody and improvisation exactly the way a great saxophone player could. Returning to the melody for a little while, leaving it, returning, diverging, creating new passages, and always enhancing the original composition. The stamp we are about to unveil is based on a 1955 black and white photograph taken of Ms. Vaughan by the legendary photographer Hugh Bell. This photo appeared on Ms. Vaughan's album After Hours. We believe Mr. Bell took this striking shot in Atlantic City at Club Harlem on Kentucky Avenue. Kentucky Avenue had a swinging jazz scene at that time. Ms. Vaughan would frequently sing in New York City and then drive down to Atlantic City and sing and relax with friends at Club Harlem. Painter and illustrator Bart Forbes converted the photo into a beautiful oil portrait, while art designer Edith Kessler designed the stamp and the stamp pane. On the stamp and the pane, Ms. Vaughan is surrounded by a midnight blue background. Her eyes are closed, her head is tilted back slightly. The artwork expertly evokes the rich tones of Ms. Vaughan's voice and captures her sultry stage presence. The right side of the stamp pane lists some of Ms. Vaughan's most popular songs. The first song in that list is Body and Soul. As many of you know, Body and Soul was the song Ms. Vaughan sang on that October night in 1942 to win amateur night at the Apollo Theater, which propelled her legendary career. So on behalf of the over 500,000 men and women of the United States Postal Service, today, March 29, 2016, we dedicate a Forever Stamp honoring one of America's greatest singers, Miss Sarah Vaughan. And now I would ask all of our special guests to join me in unveiling the stamp.
Isn't it rich? Are we up there? Me here at last on the ground. You in gray, sand in the clouds. Isn't it bliss? Don't you approve? Me here at last on the ground, one who can move, sand in the clouds. Where are the clouds? Just when I stopped opening doors, finally knowing the one that I wanted was yours, making my entrance again with my usual flair, sure of my lines, no one is there. Don't you love farce? My fault, I fear. I thought that you'd want what I want. Sorry, my dear. Where are the clouds? Send in the clouds. Don't bother, they're here. Isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing this late in my career. Where are the clouds? There ought to be clouds. And where are the clouds? There ought to be clouds. And where are the clouds? There ought to be.
And all these great jazz musicians came to pay homage to Cannonball. And George let me just be a fly on the wall, and I was backstage, and there was this woman sitting on the sofa minding her own business. And I walked over to her, and I said, hi. And she said, hi. She said, what's your name? I said, Diane Reed. She said, what do you do? I said, I sing. She said, well, who do you listen to? I said, Sarah Vaughan. She said, really? I said, yeah. So I started telling this woman all about Sarah Vaughan, how she sang this song and that song. And the guy came by and said, Sass, you got 5 minutes? I kept talking. And then finally he said, Sass, you're on. And this woman stood up, and I looked at her because, see, the records that I knew, she didn't look like the records that I knew. And my heart just went to my feet. And she just stood up and kind of looked at me like this and walked onto the stage, and I walked right behind her standing in the wings. And she sat down on that stage, and that was my first master class. She held the audience in the palm of her hand, and it was when I understood that You know, a voice is an instrument, and she defined and refined her instrument. She knew what it could do, how to make it soar into the high heavens and go deep into the deepest ocean. And I felt all of it. And I remember that when she walked off stage, I was nowhere to be found. So I was a little embarrassed, but more than anything, I don't even remember the rest of the tribute, because I went and I sat outside because I had to think about what it was that I just heard. It was so rich and so beautiful. And from that point on, every opportunity that I had to go to my school of Sarah Vaughan, I would go and sit in the audience and listen and learn. The shore was kissed by sea and mist tenderly. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly, with arms open wide. You held my heart inside. You took my heart. You took my heart. You took my heart. You took my heart. So tenderly. Her voice will last forever. I hear it in the voices of a lot of really wonderful young singers, Jasmine Horn, Cecile McLaurin Savant, Shaw Renee Wade. They're all out there. They're all feeling her, and she's living in their spirit. One good thing is jazz vocals are in a very, very good place. Thank you for inviting me to take part of this, and Sarah Vaughan Forever.
Thank you. I am not from Newark. I am from Chicago. Hey. But I grew up in a record store, okay? So my first memory in my mind's eye of Newark, because so many great organ clubs and organ records and organ players are from here, including the great Larry Young. My first vision in my mind's eye of Newark was dark, smoky clubs with Hammond B3 organs, okay? As I grew up into adulthood, that vision was changed by three literary people. Of course, the father of the Honorable Mayor, Amiri Baraka. Absolutely. And Philip Roth, who is an amazing author from Newark. And these two guys had two different visions of this place. But really, my mind's eye was changed by a writer who's not even from here. Her name is Michelle Mercer. Michelle Mercer wrote a great book called Footprints, The Life and Times of Wayne Shorter. And Wayne Shorter, another great son of Newark. Through that book, I found out just how many great people were from this town in jazz, arts, and in the literary world. And you folks, this place, again, for me, that book changed everything. When I was in Chicago, I met a great son of New Jersey by the name of Larry Rosy. I worked with him a lot in Chicago. He had a record company called GRP Records. I worked with him there. He had a TV show called Legends in Jazz on PBS. I worked with him there. But then when I moved to New York, I got to work and play with him a lot more. And Larry loved Newark. He loved the idea of New Jersey, and that's why he created the Sarah Vaughan vocal competition. He was the guy who created it, thought it up, and Jasmine Horn was one of the winners. You heard her earlier. And Larry also loved the idea of Newark. He told me that it was in Newark that people were too headstrong to be intimidated by that town next door.
unlike my hometown of Chicago. It was Larry who I heard use the analogy that the pressure of that big town combined with the smoldering rising talent, fierce work ethic, and tenacity of Jersey people worked like coal to produce outsized diamonds like Sarah Vaughan. Larry loved New Jersey, and with him, and through the Sarah Vaughan vocal competition and him talking about it, I learned a lot about Sarah, and I learned also that tenacity, that fierce talent is what she used to tackle the Apollo, how she stood in and hung out with those famous big bands of Earl Hines, Billy Eckstine, and Dizzy Gillespie. And according to my friend Larry, the reason she had a great trio with great musicianship all the time is that what she was used to growing up here in Newark. It was the highest quality and peerless professionalism all the time. I want to congratulate the United States Postal Service for not only honoring Sarah Vaughan, but the spirit of Newark, which I've come to learn and love. When I read the bio of the act that's coming out, Miss Melba Moore, I wasn't surprised to find that she had those same qualities and high standards of Sarah Vaughan, Larry Rosen, Wayne Shorter, Whitney Houston, Woody Shaw, Larry Young, and the dozens of international artists that come from Newark, New Jersey. This woman hails from a musical family. She graduated from the Arts High School in Newark, and at the give it a hand. And at the encouragement of her parents, she went on to pursue a musical education at Montclair State University, where she earned a Bachelor's of Music Education degree. Her stepfather, as Mr. Stroman talked about, is Clement Mormon. He introduced her to several agents who helped her get into hair. Who remembers hair? Did you know that Melba Moore became the first African woman to replace a white actress in a leading role on Broadway? She replaced Diane Keaton in Hair. She also earned a Tony for her portrayal as Ludi Bell in Pearlie. Right on. And was the first African American woman to perform on Broadway as Fantine in Les Mis, okay? And although she worked on Broadway, she never forgot her musical roots, her first love, and she focused on her music career as well. She made a recording debut on Mercury Records and was promptly nominated for a Grammy Award for Best New Artist. She scored a string of Billboard top hits, including some that you'll remember, like Falling and A Little Bit More, the duet with Freddie Jackson. And presently, Melba Moore is working on an autobiography dealing with her groundbreaking achievements, which include that Grammy and that Tony. Please welcome to the stage a daughter of Newark, the fabulous Melba Moore and the Melba Moore Trio.
Just keep
apologize, I had a little frog in my throat today. I don't know what's going on. I must be nervous. But I still have a wonderful a present for you. One that was given to me earlier in my life. I'm not a blood relative, but I'm a stepchild. I'm very happy to be of the great Mr. Clint Mormon, who now, being a Newark citizen, has on Palm Sunday celebrated his 100th anniversary. I'm going to invite him to come out here with me now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being here. I was born in Newark on Charlton Street. Anyone know where Charlton Street is? Went to Charlton Street School, Southside High is now. I've had the pleasure of being the father of Melvin Moore, and we've had such a good time. And I was in this theater when I was about 15 or 14. And we used to have a program on every Saturday morning. Ernest Shelley, the director of the New York Philharmonic, would bring us in and we would listen to him explain the different instruments to us, the sound of them. And it still rings in my ear. And when I walked in the theater today, it brought back very pleasant memories. And I thank you all so much for being so nice to me and welcome.
Mr. Newark, New Jersey, Mr. Clement Leroy Morgan, 100 years old. And we're celebrating the divine Mrs. Sarah Vaughan. Thank you.
Zev Feldman, producer of Sarah Vaughan Live at Rosy's. It's great to present another historic release from your friends at Resonance Records.
Live from Rosy's, the divine one, Sarah Vaughan. This lovely day will lengthen into evening.
Most jazz giants are instrumentalists. Sarah Vaughan is a jazz giant whose instrument is her voice, and she uses it to create jazz of the highest quality. Her rhythmic security and melodic inventiveness is unrivaled among her peers. She's an exciting jazz performer who sings and swings in a most musical demonstration of what jazz singing is all about. At Rosy's in New Orleans, she was in great spirits.
She was more than just a singer. She was a musician, and by that I mean she was appreciated by musicians because she could do more than what most singers can do. More in terms of being able to think like a saxophonist and phrase in her singing like an instrumentalist. It was rare in singers, but not with her, and I think that's why musicians so appreciated her when they talked about her. That was the one. She was the one.
Prior to her performance, I spoke with Sassy about her music.
Our music is just, it gets better every day to me, you know. And as long as I've had my trio, and some nights we go out there, we play the same tunes, and some nights we go out there and they sound like they're new. Because maybe Carl plays something different, or maybe Jimmy, the drummer, might, another beat comes up and ideas pop up. Without them, I'd just be up there singing, I don't know what key I'm in. Yeah, the background is very important.
We received the tapes, which were multi-track tape reels, basically giving us incredible sound. The crispness, the audio, it's clear, it sounds great. What's really special is that when the program originally aired, they aired the first set of music that night on May 31st of '78. Also, there was a second set of music which had never been out, and we have pulled the music from both of those sets to make the official release live at Rosy's.
There's music to play, places to go, people to see. everything.
This incarnation of her trio, featuring Carl Schroeder on piano, Walter Booker on bass, and Jimmy Cobb on drums, literally toured hundreds of nights together. They played all over the world. This was a tight band, and as a unit, they were on fire.
For me, it was obviously a privilege and an honor to be asked to play with her. So that was just a great experience, almost in hindsight, like a dream, you know. And of course, the opportunity to work with Jimmy Cobb and Walter Booker as well. Both these guys were just, you know, innovators on their instrument.
What was she like on and off the stage, and what was it like hanging out with her in the band?
Well, she said she was like one of the fellas, you know, like she had been in Bill Exxon band hanging out with the guys. She just thought she was one of the guys, you know. That's the way she treated us, you know. We were very just compatible.
Walter Booker was the bass player with Cannonball, and he sounded great. Just a joyous player with a joyous groove. When Cannonball Adderley passed away, we had a change of bass players, and it was suggested we get a hold of Walter. And so we did, and Walter made friends immediately. He was just that kind of great guy, and he sounded terrific.
Could you talk a little bit about Walter?
We were from the same place, you know, Washington, D.C. He's a good friend of mine. I knew his family. I met his family once.
I wanted to ask you if you just had any final thoughts on the great Sarah Vaughan.
Well, I don't know. I can't see nobody walking through them shoes in the near future.
After a certain song, we'd walk off and come back and sing another couple of songs. And after that first bow, she would sometimes she would say, she'd ask the audience, what do you want to hear? What do you want to hear? And they'd say all kinds of crazy songs.
They had been taking requests apparently during the show. When someone yells out, a tisket, a tasket. Well, I don't have to tell you, that's Ella Fitzgerald's song, but when Sarah Vaughan heard someone yell it out in the audience, she had a way of taking control of the situation in a very humorous light, as you'll hear.
A tisket, a tasket. Well, I'll be damned. Thinks I'm Lena Horne, huh? A tisket. Let's do a tisket, a tasket. But then I'm going to tell you who I am when I finish. Let's fake it. Fake it. We got to do this. I have to do this. I don't.
A tisket, a tasket. I lost my yellow basket.
A little baby picked it up. I don't even know it. Put it in his pocket.
Available in a deluxe 2 CD set, Sarah Vaughan Live at Rosy's presents nearly 90 minutes of music, originally recorded for NPR's Jazz Alive radio program in 1978, hosted by Dr. Billy Taylor. The album comes with a 36-page book of liner notes featuring essays from producer Zev Feldman and acclaimed journalists James Gavin and Will Friedwald, interviews with the legendary drummer Jimmy Cobb and jazz vocalist Helen Merrill, plus essays by club owner Rosy Wilson and Sarah Vaughan's pianist and musical director Carl Schroeder. The package is beautifully designed by Burton Yount and displays rare archival photographs from Chuck Stewart, Tom Copy, Ricardo Schwamenthal, and others, plus images and memorabilia from the personal archives of Rosy Wilson and Carl Schroeder. Live at Rosy's captures Sarah Vaughan and her stellar trio in an intimate live setting as they run through classic after classic, such as I'll Remember April, My Funny Valentine, Like Someone in Love, and sassy showstoppers like Send in the Clowns.
There was a reason they called her, you know, the Divine One. The purity of her sound was associated with a kind of a perfection that only a divinity can achieve.
When you go back and listen to this music, I think it's very clear to understand why Sarah Vaughan was on top of the world. She was one of the biggest jazz artists of this era.
Can you tell me about the first time you heard Sarah Vaughan?
I remember it very well. I was sitting in a pizza place. Suddenly on the radio comes this voice, and I couldn't believe it. I said, oh, that's exactly what my kind of singer has to sound like.
I spoke to Tony Bennett once, and he mentioned that how lucky I had been to play with her during a time when her voice had reached what one might call a golden stage.
Her musical ability, her jazz phrasing, it was perfect. And she had pipes that won't quit. I mean, she had vocal cords that were amazing. So she could really do whatever she wanted with them.
I think Live at Rosy's is a great reminder of how wonderful, how much of a genius Sarah Vaughan was. I think this is a great place for us to pick up and revisit her legacy.
It's refreshing to have some of Top Flight Sarah out to be heard. And again, a lot of this stuff has never been heard. It's great, and it makes me think how lucky I've been to have had an opportunity to work with someone that wonderful.
What did we lose 25 years ago that we'll likely never see again?
The greatest singer, from my point of view, I will never hear a singer so musicianly. Her improvisations were so tasty. She will never be replaced, and she shouldn't be. She was divine. They used all those attributes for her, and the divine, the mystical, on and on.
We wanted to build a really great experience for the listeners and the fans out there of Sarah Vaughan. This music had never been released commercially before, so we felt there was a great responsibility to present it in the best way possible, and we couldn't be more thrilled with the results, and we hope you feel the same way. Thanks as always for your support.
This is Billy Taylor. Join me when Jazz Alive presents the velvety sound of the divine one, Sarah Vaughan, performing here in the comfortable, intimate club atmosphere of Rosy's in New Orleans.
We do want to thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being such a wonderful, beautiful, delightful audience. Carl Schroeder on piano, Walter Booker on bass, Jimmy Cobb on drums, and look who's here, Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn. How about that? He's looking down there at us. Hi, Billy.
Love you.
That'll do it again for this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting from the Sarah Vaughan Concert Hall at Newark Symphony Hall here in downtown Newark, New Jersey. I'd like to personally congratulate the Sarah Vaughan estate as well as the United States Postal Service for putting on this wonderful, wonderful ceremony, as well as I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at the United States Postal Service, as well as the concert hall for the Newark Symphony Hall. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.